So this happened last night. I want to play this cut because there's something happening in the sport that doesn't make any sense to my brain. And I want to play the cut and then explain what I'm talking about.
2-2. Bleeder, that's going to work. Here comes Luke. He is murdering. He's going to score. And the Mariners have won this game. Mitch Haniger, another clutch opportunity for the ball club, and he comes through.
A terrific AB. He had to battle being down 0-2 right away, but he hung in there.
That's Dave Sims on Root Sports.
That it is.
I find myself jealous of Mariner fan because their team actually wins their games. My team sucks. We're terrible right now.
You guys have been to a World Series and won a World Series, so don't be too jealous.
I'm just talking about this moment.
Sure, in this
moment.
you're jealous of watching them score 2 runs against the Chicago White Sox.
Well, here's what's
hit
interesting.
a $126 as a team.
They come back again and they win. That's basically what the series against Chicago was. Is, hey, come back, win at the end, walk off. There you go. Do you know the Seattle Mariners are 16-6 in one-run games this season?
Clutch is everything.
Pretty good.
Would you like to know a fun fact?
Sure.
They've got a 58% winning percentage the last 3 seasons in one-run games.
Yeah.
That's not how this is supposed to go. You're supposed to be good and then be really bad. They were really good 2 years ago.
Yes.
Then they were about 500 in that.
Yeah.
And now this year they're 16-6. They have a 58% winning percentage in one-run games the last 3 years. I haven't looked up where that ranks historically, but it's got to be near the top. This doesn't make any sense that they continue to somehow be this good in those situations.
Well, I think you touched on it for last year. This is a team that 2 years ago ended their playoff drought. Raleigh hits the home run. Hey, we're going to the postseason. The main reason they made it that year was their pitching was outstanding. Julio was great, but it was their record in one-run games. That's why they made the playoffs.
12 games above 500 in one-run games that
year. That offseason, they then, instead of saying, you know what, kind of an outlier. Is this a reliable thing where we're going to win this many one-run games? Maybe we should give ourselves more of a buffer with a better offense. They said, no, we could do that again. And what happened last season? Now, they weren't horrible. They weren't below 500, but they were about league average, about 500.
I think they were 25-26 in one-run games.
So they're 1 game below 500, and the year before they were 12 games above 500. That was the difference between them not making the playoffs and making the playoffs, was that they weren't as good in one-run games. And so now they're back to doing it. It just... To me, it's not a reliable thing because baseball, we talk about this all the time with hockey, and we just did with the College World Series. It's a fluky, weird sport. You could have a game where you got a runner on second with 2 outs and a guy hits a dying duck blooper on a broken bat that lands over your second baseman's head in front of your right fielder, and that's how you lose a game. Or offensively, you could come up with the bases loaded and smoke a line drive right at the center fielder. Guess what? There's 2 outs. You hit it right at him, and the game's over. It's a fluky, random game when you're playing these one-run ball games all the time. And to me, it's just not a strategy that's something that you can rely upon. There are names that are starting to float out there. Luis Robert is one from Chicago. Like, there are bats available. There are offensive additions available for them to go make. Mm-hmm. And I just would be praying if I'm a Mariner fan that they're going to be aggressive because this is great. You're having an awesome run. Sure, you eked out 3 wins against the worst team in maybe the history of Major League Baseball, but you got to sweep. You're 9 games over 500. You're in first place. It's not going to be enough when it matters the most, and I will keep repeating that until they add some offense.
You know, you say that, and you're making a lot of sense, but, like, they just keep doing it. And I'm not quite Jesse. God, Colin Morikawa, would you learn to putt?
That was a 4-footer, too. That was a short one.
That might have been 2.5.
He has a 4. It's longer coming back right now.
Jeez, man.
He can't putt.
I gambled on him. Can you tell?
He's Asian Scotty Scheffler, man. He's an unbelievable iron player, and he just struggles on the greens from time to time.
I'm not at the same level of anger or crying when I say this, but I feel a little like Jesse from Breaking Bad. You say all those things, they keep getting away with it, and I just keep saying they can't keep getting away with this. Now, look, Trident's up, bitch. That's probably going to be my Twitter's mentions at some point.
Yeah.
But 16-6, it's almost like they'd prefer. I would make an argument here. 16-6 isn't just fluky. It's a team that's like, yo, if we meet them in the postseason, if they get there and they're first in their division, I'm afraid to face them in a one-run game. They are going to be comfortable in that moment.
Yeah, but then you look at, okay, are you going to go to Baltimore or New York where they just mash?
Yeah.
How many times are you going to be in a late inning one-run situation?
They got one of the best pitching staffs in baseball.
They do.
They're
like
still.
top 3 in everything.
Also, in those ballparks,
yeah, I know.
pop
Short
flies
porches.
go out.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it's easy to do in the regular season, and it's a completely different ball game in the postseason. I think it's a completely different animal.
The pitching seems to matter a little more.
They
in
have
that
one of.
postseason.
This is why it's so frustrating. They have one of the best pitching staffs, if not the best pitching staff in all of Major League Baseball. The MRI came back. Who they had the starter who got scratched the other night. I think the MRI.
Brian Wu came back clean. They hope he pitches maybe this weekend, early
next week. They have one of
week.
the best staffs in all of baseball. That's going to give them a chance in literally every game that they play. I'm not going to overreact to winning 3. Well, I guess the first game was a walk-off grand slam, but they were down 4-0 to Chicago.
I know.
Then they had to come back and win 4-3.
Almost got swept by the
and
White
then they won
Sox.
2-1. Like they almost got swept by the worst team in all of Major League Baseball.
That's true.
They're doing what they're supposed to do. The schedule's manageable. They got the closeout game today. They're probably going to finish off a 4-game sweep. They should, because Chicago is terrible. You got Miami coming up on the schedule. There's other bad teams. So I gave you the stat recently that their schedule in the coming month and a half or 2 months was one of the easiest in all of baseball. The American League West sucks. They got the White Sox. There's a Rocky series mixed in there. There's a Marlin series mixed in there. So they're going to feast against these really bad teams. That's not what you see in October, man. You're getting the best pitching staff on the best teams of the sport, and your offense is not up to par with them.
6.5 game lead in the division.
That it is.
They are 10 games above 500.
Is there anybody else above 500 in that division?
No.
Okay.
It's
Texas
one of the
is
worst.
right around.
They're 32-35.
Texas just lost 2 out of 3 to my baseball team, and my baseball team sucks. We took 2 out of 3 from them in Dallas.
Stros are 31-38, and then the Angels are basically right there with the
One other follow-up question. Is there another division in baseball that doesn't have 2 teams over 500?
What's going on in the AL Central?
Nope. AL Central has the Royals at 39-30. The Guardians
the
are having
same record as the
Mariners.
same record as the Mariners.
The Central has 3. My Twinkies, who I picked to get to the World Series, they're 36-32.
Guardians have one of the best records in all of baseball.
The AL Central and the AL
NL
East
West is probably the closest.
Padres might not be. Yeah, I know the Giants aren't above.
Well,
500.
Padres are on a heater right now too. I think they're like 1 or 2 games over 500.
No, the NL West has the Pods at 37-35.
Yeah.
No, the Central. The Central's pretty awful.
NL Central, yeah.
Yeah, the Reds are in second place at 33-35. So the AL West and the
Okay.
NL Central
There
are
you
the
go.
2 worst divisions.
Only
in
one team
baseball.
above 500 in those divisions.
But hey, take advantage of it.
Yep.
You win the game.